Imagine, you are floating alone in the middle of the ocean at midnight. No land, no light, no sound. You look down, and beneath your feet, there is nothing but 2 miles of pitch black, freezing water. Now imagine, something looking back up at you. Something the size of a skyscraper. Humanity has mapped less than 5% of the world's oceans. Think about that. We have sent cameras to the desolate surface of Mars, yet the deepest trenches of our own planet remain completely alien to us. When we look at the sea, we see a calm, flat, blue horizon, and we convince ourselves that the monsters of the past, the giant squids, the megalodons, are either extinct or just exaggerated myths. But thousands of years ago, before modern science, humanity didn't just fear the water, they feared something inside it, a specific, living, breathing god that ruled the abyss, a creature so massive, so destructive, that it wasn't just mentioned in sailor stories. It was documented in some of the most sacred ancient texts in human history, the ultimate apex predator of the deep. They called it Leviathan. For centuries, modern science locked Leviathan away in the realm of mythology, a fairy tale, a legend, a story used to scare sailors. But in the late 20th century, we finally built machines capable of hearing what human ears could not. And for the first time in history, we began listening to the deep. Then, in the summer of 1997, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration detected something impossible. Deep within the remote, uncharted waters of the Pacific Ocean, underwater hydrophones picked up an ultra-low frequency sound. They called it the Bloop. At first, scientists assumed it was mechanical, a submarine, an underwater eruption, some kind of geological anomaly. But the acoustic profile said otherwise. It matched the exact signature of something biological, something alive. And that created a terrifying problem. Because to produce a sound that powerful, a sound capable of traveling over 3,000 miles underwater, the creature responsible would need to be vastly larger than a blue whale. The largest known animal on Earth would look like a goldfish beside whatever made that noise. Soon after, the explanation changed. Officials quietly labeled it an icequake, case closed. But the acousticians who studied the raw data, they knew what they heard. It wasn't an earthquake, it wasn't machinery, it sounded like a heartbeat. To understand what may be hiding in the abyss, we need to look backward, far backward, to the oldest surviving records of human civilization, thousands of years before the birth of Christ. The ancient Canaanites wrote about a monstrous sea entity known as Lotan, a twisting, multi-headed serpent representing the primordial chaos of the ocean itself. But the most disturbing description appears in the Hebrew Bible, the Book of Job, chapter 41. And this is where things become unsettling, because the passage does not read like poetry. It reads like anatomy, a biological breakdown of something ancient and invincible. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook? The text mocks the very idea of hunting it. It describes rows of shields covering its back, sealed so tightly together that no air can pass between them. Armor so impossibly thick that swords, spears, and javelins shatter on impact. And then, the description becomes even stranger. The text claims that flames come from its mouth, that its movement causes the sea itself to boil. For centuries, scholars dismissed these words as exaggeration, a poetic description of a crocodile. But there's one problem with that theory. A crocodile does not survive in the crushing darkness of the open ocean, and a crocodile does not make the sea boil. So if a creature of mythological proportions truly survived Earth's extinction events, where would it hide? The answer may lie in the Hadal Zone, the deepest, most hostile trenches on the planet, especially the Mariana Trench, a chasm so unimaginably deep that if you dropped Mount Everest into it, the peak would still remain submerged beneath more than a mile of water. Down there, The pressure exceeds 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level, enough to crush a military-grade nuclear submarine like an empty soda can in milliseconds. And yet, life still exists there. Alien life. Creatures feeding off boiling toxic chemicals erupting from geothermal vents. An ecosystem completely detached from sunlight. The ultimate fortress for something ancient to remain hidden. And over the decades, military sonar operators have repeatedly reported impossible anomalies in these depths. Massive objects, moving far too fast, changing direction at angles that defy physics, displacing thousands of tons of water in seconds. Officially, these incidents are dismissed as glitches, ghost echoes, equipment malfunctions. But the men sitting in those dark submarine rooms, listening through headphones in absolute silence, they know the difference between a malfunction and something breathing. Humanity has always been obsessed with looking upward. We stare into the stars and wonder whether we are alone in the universe. But perhaps we have been looking in the wrong direction this entire time. Because beneath us, the ocean remains a frozen museum of Earth's most violent history, a graveyard of forgotten predators, a place that keeps its deadliest secrets buried beneath billions of tons of black water. And for thousands of years, ancient sailors, writers, and civilizations all warned us about the same thing: the King of the Abyss, a creature whose existence would completely destroy our understanding of power, technology, and dominance. And today, as climate change alters ocean temperatures, as deep-sea mining pushes further into unexplored darkness, we are disturbing places that have remained untouched for millions of years. We are knocking on a door that was never meant to be opened. And we better pray that Leviathan is only a myth, because if it isn't, then humanity is not the apex predator of this planet. We are merely visitors, trespassing in its waters. Reality is far more terrifying than fiction. If this encounter sent shivers down your spine, just wait until you see what we uncover next week. Subscribe and join us in the dark, if you dare.